Hello, welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today, I wanted to share with you one of my favorite curriculum that we started this year, and give you a little bit of overview about what's included, how you can search for it on the website, and I'm trying to also at the same time figure out which level we're going to do for next year. So the curriculum is called Essentials in Writing. So it is a writing curriculum that homeschoolers can use. There is also grammar for the first half of the year, or you can switch off. There are some schedules that I've seen where you can switch off between the grammar and the writing. Currently, we are only using the writing portion. And then in higher levels, it does start to include literature. So this year we are doing level 3 for Essentials in Writing, but I'm thinking that I might move on to level 5. So I kind of wanted to walk through how you can get a sample of what is covered for that year. And then that'll probably help me figure out which level we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to dive right in. So the website is essentialsinwriting.com. And then once you're here, you can kind of see some of the different items that are available to you. So we have the Essentials in Writing curriculum. That is for all grade levels, K through 12. And then there is a literature level, and I think that starts in 6 or 7. So I'll look into that. You could do bundles where you can do both of them in those later years. And then they also have scoring. We have not done scoring yet, so I can't provide any feedback on that. I believe it starts in level 6, so we'll walk through that as well. So the first curriculum is the Essentials in Writing. That's the one that we have used so far. So it starts in level 1 through level 12. And then it gives you like the recommended age range for these lower levels. We used level 3. My daughter started the school year, is technically a 4th grader. But I felt that it was really good background and baseline for paragraph writing, giving different styles of writing. As last year we had worked on sentences, but expanding sentences, combining sentences, having good openers, having really descriptive language in the sentences. So expanding on sentence writing. So this year we wanted to focus on paragraphs. And I thought that level 3 gave a really good introduction to all the different styles of the paragraph writing and different writing styles for that level. And it also walked through the writing process really well for her at that age. So I felt fine using level 3 for her. But I'm contemplating skipping level 4 and moving on to level 5. So I wanted to look and see what is covered in each of those levels before I make that decision. But this is the writing curriculum. As I mentioned, there's lower level elementary, middle school, and then high school for those. And then it also looks like they have a college application essay guide. So we are not anywhere near that, so I have no recommendations for that. The other portion of it I mentioned is that literature curriculum. The literature curriculum starts in level 7, so around age 12 or 13, and then goes through high school. And those cover, like it mentions, literature. So I'll go into that after I cover kind of the main writing curriculum. So then they also have scoring services, and that's where I mentioned it'll start in level 6. So level 6 through the end will have different scoring, and that is where you can provide the writing examples of your student to this service, and then they will provide feedback. So it'll give you the time frame. It doesn't start until September for submittal and goes through June. So like what a standard, I guess, public school time frame would be. Has the cost. There's 3 to 5 assignments from Unit 1, and then 1 final composition from each of the composition lessons in that writing curriculum. They will provide and give each of the students detailed comments back in a rubric, And so you can use that if you want to have somebody that's outside of your household or schooling provide feedback on the writing. We, again, haven't used this because we are not this far out, but there are some different responses below on that feedback. And you can also, I think they have a Facebook page that you can get and see what some of the feedback is from people who have used the scoring services. All right, so now I'm going to go jump back into the writing curriculum. And my daughter finished level 3, so I wanted to look at level 4 and 5. So I'm going to learn more. It gives you an overview of what is included in the curriculum. This is the second edition. That's the one that we've been using. It includes access to a student book and teacher handbook. And then there are lessons throughout the curriculum that are provided to the students prior to that activity. So they're usually around like 5 to 10 minutes. So I found them extremely helpful, having a short, quick video and then getting into the lesson. The online video access is for 18 months, and then it does have free renewals. So if you are looking and weren't able to complete the activity, or you bought it early, maybe there was a sale that you were looking at, it gives you 18 months, and then you can request a free renewal of that video lesson access. There is some customer service support. We haven't needed to use that yet, but I know that that is available. And then there's some additional instructional strategies that are alternatives for students that may be struggling in certain areas. There is also an optional assessment that you can do. So this is not like the writing feedback service. This is you doing it in your home, an assessment. So we have not used that. We just do the standard writing, but there are also additional optional assessments that you can use throughout the school year. And then in the schedule, it tells you when to do each of the assessments. So there is that available to you in the lesson plan. There's some of the costs, but they do have sales throughout the school year. So if you are looking at the curriculum, I believe it's like a 7-day free trial, and then you can purchase the curriculum. But I, recommend keeping an eye out if you can see one of those sales that is available to you. So farther down, we'll provide an overview, the sample, that's what we're going to be looking at, so I can see what is covered for the school year. They are offered both for digital and print, so there is a little bit of feedback on which one you want to use. We use the digital for ours, and then we print them out. So you do get a copy that has files that you can then print out for your curriculum. It just makes it easier for us because we can do it as we go along. Then there's what is included in the assessment. So there is, like I mentioned, both a grammar portion in the first half and then writing in the second half. So the assessment covers 18 grammar assessments, 5 composition assessments, and 2 comprehensive unit tests. So those are what are included in the assessment package, but I haven't used those, so I'm not sure. Don't have much feedback for those. And then that online streaming, like I mentioned, you have 18 months. So I'm going to go back over here. Oh, this is another key area too. If you are looking for somebody to provide a little bit of feedback on what level they would recommend, there is a placement tool, and then some comparison guides. So let's just take a look at that one. So it gives you a nice, maybe like for me, I might come back and look at this. Here is a quick reference guide to what is covered in the different levels. And maybe I want to figure out, like, I'm going to look at what do I want to do, level 4, level 5. Here are the key areas that are covered in each of those for nice comparison. But then you can also use the placement tool, and that will help you walk through where they recommend you, what level they recommend for you for your student. Okay, so I'm going to go back over to that level 4. And under the sample and frequently asked questions, there is a student book sample at the very beginning. And I use that because it gives me the pages at the beginning that are what is covered for that year. So if we take a look at that, the first section has the parts of speech, and then tools for effective communication. Still a lot of grammar, punctuation for this first half. And as I mentioned before, there are some schedules out there that people have put together for balancing the grammar punctuation with the writing. So instead of doing all grammar for the first half of the year and all writing for the second half of the year, they say, okay, complete lessons 2 through 4, and then move on to lesson 39 for the composition section. So that is out there. But I specifically am looking at the composition section. So in level 4, it looks like we are still doing paragraphs, and it's a paragraph overview because it does have different types of writing paragraphs. So the descriptive, expository, and persuasive. And then a news article, a narrative, a persuasive personal letter. I think we did that in level 3 as well. And then we move on to essay writing. And so I like this because it looks like it's just one main essay, possibly with also an essay for the research project, but it's at the end of the writing for that year because I'm still trying to build on shorter writing for the beginning of 5th grade, but I would like to get into essay writing, building up multiple paragraph writing. And so they do cover that for level 4 and then have the larger research project. Okay, so I'm on now go back and look at level 5. And I like how on that page for level 4, it had both the level before and the level after it, because if they're someone like me and they want to start comparing, it gives them access to quickly get to either the level below or the level above the one they're currently looking at. And now I'm going to go down to the same area under the sample and FAQs and go to that book sample. So this is now level 5. It is broken up the same way. So we have that first unit of grammar that goes over parts of speech and tools for effective communication. I like these. These are more, I think, in line with where my daughter would be with grammar. She's already worked on quite a few of those. It does give you some figurative language. And now we're on to the composition section. So it very similar. It looks like they have a paragraph overview and then the same expository, persuasive, and descriptive paragraphs. It moves a little bit faster than I think what we had in level 3, which is good. We're trying to expand and strengthen the writing process. Another personal letter, but this time expository. So that'll be good because that's different from what we had in level 3. So our personal letter, I believe, was also persuasive last year or this year for grade 3. And then there's a personal narrative, writing a summary. Oh, and then comparing, contrasting. This I like. This gives us a different thought process for brainstorming and how we can organize our thoughts in preparation, especially for essay writing. And then it's same where we have now one essay for the end of the school year and then a research project. So I think I like this. It's not, now jumping very quickly and now we're writing 5 essays for grade 5, but just still one at the end. And then I like this preparation beforehand of the compare and contrast writing because that will help for how to, write that essay. And then if I scroll down farther, I didn't show this on level 4, but I'll show it now in level 5. There also, some of those lessons may have multiple days. So just because it has, 80 lessons does not mean it takes 80 days because some of them are multiple days. So as you can see, even in the grammar section for lesson 5, it breaks it up into 3 days. And then here's where I mentioned they put in in the assessments into that schedule. So if you have the assessment package, it'll tell you when to implement those in the lesson planning. But if you don't, you could just skip that section. Okay, so farther down into the writing. So the writing starts right here around lesson 40. So you can see some of these lessons take multiple days, especially as we're getting higher up into these levels because they're getting more advanced. And then I like that the persuasive essay has quite a few days to build that, because this will be the first time really writing, not necessarily writing an essay. We've done some things where you have to write multiple paragraphs, but it's not really going into the level of providing a real essay that would be, turned in, completed with a final draft. So I like that it gives multiple days to create that persuasive essay. And then the last, having that research project, which is good to get some practice early on in how to research and how to pull that information and implement it into your project. Okay, so that is the writing portion and helping me discuss where I want to move on for level 4 or level 5. So now I'll walk over to the literature curriculum. The essentials in literature bring in literature now. So you're now having novels for review. You can get it. Here's the pricing on this side. You can get it as a bundle as well to save on if you're hoping to get both the literature and the writing curriculum. So for the literature curriculum, it looks like it breaks up into 4 units. So the first unit is fiction, short stories, then nonfiction, short literary works, a novel, and then figurative language and poetry. And then it provides how many? It looks like for this novel, I saw above, it was Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. So that's the novel that will be studied for the level 7. And then if you go to, looks like, let's see what it has here. Okay, here's a nice breakdown of all of those literatures that will be used in each of those units. So if you wanted to see what was covered in those short stories, in the nonfiction section, that is covered here down in the sample PDFs for that level. And then there's some additional frequently asked questions. There's the 34-week plan, and then a book sample. So you can come in and look at that for any of the levels. So if you look now down into the high school levels, it looks like the novel will be The Hobbit. If we go down, to the sample and look at that, literary works, you can see breaks it down into very similar sections. There's a fiction unit with shorter stories. There's a nonfiction unit. There's the novel, The Hobbit. And then there's the figurative language and poetry unit. So it breaks it down into the same 4 sections, and you can see which works are covered in the essentials in literature curriculum. And that is about all I've used. As I mentioned, they do have some other strategies. So here's some alternative instructional strategies for both the writing and the literature unit. They do have these shorter plans. So let's say you're wanting to cover something, either, get it done in a semester time frame because you want to use something else for the other semester, or maybe you want to cover key areas over the summer for review. They do have these 10 and 18-week plans. And then let's say I was looking at level 5. If I wanted to just quickly do a 10-week plan, I just wanted to cover this over the summer, these are the different lessons that they're recommending. And then for weeks and by day, here's the things that you would cover. So this is just for the writing section, because it starts at lesson 40 and the writing is right around lesson 40. So this would just be for the writing section. And then if we go look at the 18-week plan for level 5, same thing. Now it looks like it is covering both. So this doesn't do every lesson, or maybe it does the lessons a little bit quicker. So like for this specific day, you're doing both day and 1 and 2 for lesson 17, but it is covering both the grammar sections and the writing for the 18-week plan. It just speeds up that, especially maybe if you're doing a lower level and you just want to catch your student up to that, then maybe you could do the next level down, cover the key areas from that specific level, and then move on and start the next level up for that curriculum. So that is Essentials in Writing. Really enjoying this curriculum this school year. So we will be continuing on with that for next year as well. So let me know if you guys have any questions about this curriculum, how we're using it, anything like that. And then feel free again to go to the website, contact them. I know that they give feedback pretty quickly to everybody. There's the placement tool. They can also provide more guidance if you want to write directly to them. And then that's it. If you found this helpful at all, if you could please like and subscribe, that would be very helpful. And I'm going to continue on with providing a little bit more on some of the curriculum that we've really enjoyed for this year, giving some reviews on each of them individually. And then we will have another video coming up, I think, on what we're going to do for the remaining portion of the year. And then at the end of the year, we'll do our final review for grade 4. So thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you later. Bye.